What's up, world? We are so excited to be launching our new podcast, The Henny and Tippy Show. This has been a labor of love, trust me, in every sense of the word, but we're actually right at the beginning stages. So on tomorrow, we're going to be filming our first official episodes of the podcast. How are you feeling?
Stressed out is how I'm feeling. I don't know about you all, but working with your spouse can be extremely stressful.
Extremely.
And so I'm kind of feeling the grunt of the day in working with my spouse here.
Yeah.
But that's the whole beauty of this podcast, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about real life. We're going to talk about relationships, communicating in relationships. We're going to talk about blending families.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about working together as spouses and entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about all kinds of different topics and just kind of invite you into our world so you can see the good times, the bad times, the highs, the lows.
Absolutely.
And we're going to also be talking to other people who have experience in relationships. Some are professional, some are just average people like
Everyday
you, like
people.
like you and I.
Everyday people.
Every day, and you all, right? And we just want to invite you to join into the conversation and let us know what you feel and how you think. So make sure that you subscribe, like the video if you do, and if you don't, share it. Somebody else might like it.
Absolutely.
And
one of the biggest things too, in us just even taking on this, actually, for us it's a calling, it's ministry. We love actually being in this. It's an arena, but it's not an arena. We kind of been.
Well, they call it the relationship space.
The relationship space. That's what we're in.
Well, that's what the YouTube community
Right. So
is calling these type of podcasts,
so
the
that's a
relationship space. But
Okay.
so we're in a relationship in this space, and we want to share and talk with you all about it.
So one of the first things I guess we can kind of start at is that we wanted to kind of tell people and lay in the foundation of our show, just kind of about our story and how we met. In our journey, where we kind of first started. You want to kick that off? Just how we met, our story?
Yeah, so if you want me to tell that version today, he came and plucked me out of my natural habitat.
Yes.
I was in Los Angeles, we say Los Angeles, but I was actually outside of Los Angeles, about an hour and a half and some change. What is that? Southeast of LA?
Yes.
In an area that, Tri-City area, Temecula, Murrieta, Menifee area, and just hanging out in an area, where I like to go. I love to listen to live music and just kind of sitting out on the patio. And I saw this guy with these funny looking socks.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that just walked up. He doesn't believe me when I say the socks caught my attention, and then I looked at him, and then yes, he likes the part about.
She didn't notice the 6'2" dark and handsome, but she noticed my funny socks.
I did notice him. He didn't. In the order that my eyes, gravitated. I saw the socks first, and then I looked at him, and we did. It was sparks. It was literally like love at first sight. In all honesty, I never believed that. Starting out, I used to hear ladies at my church when I was in my first marriage, right? And they would talk about, there was love at first sight, and it was all this. And sometimes, and this is not to knock, but sometimes people be like so spiritual, they're no earthly good, right? So it was like at this point in time where it just seemed like everyone that I was coming in contact with had these super, far out there stories, and it was just hard to believe that these people, were really being honest about how they felt. And it could have been that I was just in a season at the time where emotionally I just wasn't there and just couldn't grasp it. But I think that's the beauty in how God works, because he actually gave me that experience, right? And that was when we met. But when we did meet, the timing wasn't right, You can pick up from there.
Absolutely. So, and I didn't believe in that either. I was one of the, a true romantic and, I always thought about really being in love and getting married, but truly, the first time we met, I did literally tell her I was still married at the time, but I was basically separated. I've been separated for several years. And I was in a place and space where I was still believing for the best in my current marriage at the time. And I was honest with her when I met her. And so in one part of my brain, I'm like, I met her, looked at her, and felt something different. And I'm like, nah, I can't, that ain't it. But I just knew there was a real connection there. I couldn't deny it. But nevertheless, I was a true gentleman. I let her know, that I'm married. And actually, I told her that, because that was my goal, in my heart and my mind, that my marriage would survive. But I was kind of hoping against hope. But we became friends, and it was always platonic. Nothing. We were just friends, really.
Yeah, well, really, to be
and even say that we hadn't even crossed into no type of friendship, but we knew each other. Really.
So it was like we met.
Right.
And when we met, we went for a walk and talked to get to know each other. And, he did, in the midst of the conversation, I really did believe that I heard God say, "This is your husband," right? But then in the midst of our conversation, he hit me with the, oh, I'm separated. I'm married, but I'm separated. Yeah. And when I tell you, it was like a record scratch. And everything that he said after that, I couldn't even tell you, because now I'm in my head having a conversation like, the Lord could just tell you this your husband because he's somebody else's husband. So I'm literally in my mind in a full conversation like, this guy is full of caca and you just fell for the okie doke. You need to shut this down. Right. And so like literally we were respectful. He didn't know I had this whole conversation in my head, but I was being respectful of her, and he thought I was listening to everything that he said after that, but I really didn't hear anything. And so we just kind of, I think after that conversation, I think we had probably already exchanged numbers. Right. And then, so after that conversation, it was just like, okay, I'm not going to ever hear from him again, Absolutely. And, but it was so funny because my friend at the time, she was telling me like, oh, you guys gonna get married, you guys are gonna, have twin daughters and all these type of things. And I'm like, girl, this man is, he ain't even available. So that's not gonna happen. But I couldn't deny like how I felt, but I couldn't act on it either because I was already divorced and I already knew what it was like to be a wife and have, your spouse, out dealing with other women, so I didn't want to experience that. And when I was dating before him, just kind of getting my feet back in the dating pool, I had come across, some fools that was pretty much, lying about being married. And then we go out and then I find out after the fact, boom, they're married. So I did appreciate your honesty at the time, but at the same time, I was just kind of annoyed. Yeah, I was annoyed at the same time. So I was like, okay. Right. And so, we didn't even really talk. No, yeah. I think it was like a couple weeks after that, or maybe a week or so after that.
It was so, and further, just talking about the story. So really, we met. It was just like that. We did exchange numbers, and that really was it. It wasn't looking forward to anything.
I can hear y'all talking through the TV. Hold on. Let's be very clear. Right. We exchanged numbers prior to understanding that he was in a marriage. So it wasn't like he told me he was married and then I'm still like, oh, take my number. Right. So
and I was networking. I was also networking. So it wasn't, it really was a pure situation. It wasn't.
It was pure. But I wanted to get to the point because it was like a week or two after that how I got my nickname of Tippy.
Yeah. So this is another thing too. So in the midst of me being estranged, I actually went to California. I'm a recording artist, singer-songwriter. So I was actually out in her city, actually performing at different venues and further working on my music career. And being out in California, I was recording Hollywood and stuff like that too. But nevertheless, I didn't know anybody out there outside of a friend of mine at the time who lived out there. So he was the only person I knew. I had her number. So like a few weeks from there, we was actually marketing and doing some things, and our van that we would, have all our equipment in broke down. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know nothing. I'm in California, I'm hitting all the different spots, but you couldn't tell me north from south, east from west. And so our van broke down. And so I'm asking my friend at the time, like, dude, you need to call somebody or, call a tow truck, whatever. And he like, so the couple of people he knew, he called them and either they were not available or they couldn't help us. And I'm like, dude, I know nobody out here. And then he just hit me like, man, hold on. This young lady, and I'm like, it was a shot in the dark. And I'm like, it's nighttime. And I'm like, this going to come across real crazy. But I said, man, she's the only person I know out here. So I literally called her and I was like, spoke, hello, how you doing? And she picked up the phone. And I said, I need a favor. I said, honestly, I have nobody to call, but our van broke down and we need to get to our other vehicle. And if you can be so kind to give us a hand, I greatly appreciate it. But once again, if you don't, I totally understand, but God gave me favor. And she's like, okay, well, sure, where you at? And, and she drove.
And I don't even know why. I mean, I just, it ain't even I didn't know you.
Yeah, really.
But I just felt like, okay, I don't mind. But I mean, I really didn't realize that we was going as far as we were going either. Right.
I didn't know anything.
Because the vehicle, the van was broken down like around the corner for me.
Right.
So for me, that was like, okay, that's not a big deal. I can get you guys, and I'm thinking I'll get you and drop you off, around the corner or down the street,
Right.
But it ended up being like an hour plus away.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I was already committed at that point, so I went ahead and did it. But the wonderful part about it was once they got the other vehicle, they followed me back to my house
to make sure she get home safe.
to make sure I got home safe, because we're talking about like wee hours of the morning. It was like after midnight.
When
like
I was
it
doing
was
shows
late.
And stuff. Yeah, everything. We finished late.
So they were gentlemen. And when we got back to my house, we were standing outside.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's Tippy. So right hand to the man. God's honest truth. It was like I was so touched. Like my heart was really touched that this beautiful young lady would just be so kind and pick us up, help us. And I literally just wanted to give her a hug. That was on my mind, a hug. So when I went to hug her, I really just wanted to give her a hug to be like, thank you. She just... No.
He leaving out the most pertinent part. I ain't just...
What part?
So he tried to give me a hug, but he put his hand underneath his shirt and then pulled his shirt up so I could see his little...
I was stretching.
He had a little 8-pack, 10-pack, 12-pack. I don't know what it was, but it was too much for a married man to be doing for a single woman this time of night.
No.
So I took
making
off.
Me sound like Magic Mike.
I don't know what was going on, but I ran my behind in the house, locked the door, and did not come back out. So I can't tell you what happened after that.
I was simply stretching on God.
Yeah, whatever.
And went from there to give her a hug.
Listen,
and I just saw
I was like, the
toes.
devil is a lie. You hear me? I'm running, and I ran. And I locked myself in the house and did not come back out at all. I don't know. It was like sun up, new day before I came back out that house.
So hence the name Tippy.
That's what he goes. He teased me so bad because he said I ran on my tippy toes. So he started calling me Tippy for running and getting out of Dodge. So that's how I got that name.
Absolute. So that's how we met. But, once again, it was literally years before we ever got into the space that we're in.
Yeah.
Just kind of rounding out the story. I ended up coming back to move back from pretty much California. I was in between, LA and San Diego, but moved back and had to finish up all my loose ends, where I was with my family and my ex-wife now.
Mm-hmm.
Wife
but
at
you
the
did
time.
call me periodically.
Yeah.
Like he would call me like once every 6-7 months. Like sometimes, you know, like it was sporadic. But you know, we'll talk on the phone for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we get off, you know, go. But when we were talking business because he was trying to get me.
Oh man, that's another key part.
Yeah.
I really was trying. You know, in me getting to know her, she is a brilliant woman, and it was like, wow. You know, I know how I move, and I was just like, man, she got a lot of skills and talents. Like it, you know, it was very impressive. So I was like, I really was trying to recruit her to work for me. I said, I really need to make you a part of this organization. She's like, no, I can't work with. I can't work with you.
No, you wasn't gonna apply.
And I was serious.
No.
I was really
no, but
serious.
see, and this is a key part.
And that
too.
was honesty.
And this is a key part too, because I already knew that I still kind of had some feelings and emotions that I could not act on or even explore.
Yeah.
So I was not going to entertain working with him when I already knew, you know, he was, well, at least the last that I talked to you, you were trying to work out your marriage, right? Yeah. So I wasn't even going to engage in that kind of way to create any little areas for the enemy to cause any kind of chaos and confusion.
I respect you for that. Because honestly, because my mind, you know, when it comes to, you know, the music side of me, the production side of me and all of that, like I got, you know, when you are an artist and, you know, I write and all of that, so I work with, you know, females and, you know, people who've been featured on my music and stuff. I'm very professional. So anybody who know me, all the different artists who I work with, that's one thing I don't play with, because your name is everything, you know, in this industry. And a lot of artists do, especially if they got a name for themselves, you know, they can kind of take advantage of, you know, women who work with them.
And that was another thing I used to tell you too. I was like, I don't date athletes and I don't date entertainers. I didn't want no parts of that life and any of that, you know. And so it was just, that's just what it was.
So when we talked, it really was business, you know, things I'm working on, things I aspire to work on. I would hear the same with you, you know, and I love how a lot of things I was doing as far as mentoring young men and, you know, just a lot of different things. We were really, a lot of great similarities, but I was like, you know, also I think she'd be great to be on the team. But that was on that front as a business side, but then things on my personal side, we never crossed.
No, he would tease me like, oh, I know you were Leroy, or where's Leroy?
I mean, I thought she, you know, eventually.
And I don't know who Leroy is, and no disrespect to Leroy is out there, but I didn't.
Yeah, Leroy, I know you was messing with my woman. And if I ever catch you, bro, it's gonna be telling you, you're gonna get the business.
There wasn't no Leroy.
But I really would tease her, because I feel like, man, she's a great catch. And, you know, because it was years. I said, man, you know, eventually some dude who got a brain gonna wise up and, you know, you'll be married and, you know, and just move forward with life. But, because I'm like, I mean, I just knew because it was years, literally.
Like, I would say at least about between 2 to 3 years. Like somewhere in between there before you actually called me to go out on an official date, you know. And then at that point, you got to tune in to hear what happened next.
You got to hear it. And we'll be back with more Henny and Tippy in just a minute. Let's take a break and spin the block. One love.